So imagine this, you're at a company board meeting, someone stands up and says, hey, this corporation has a contract supplying military surveillance technology to a foreign army that's been credibly accused of war crimes. And the corporation's PR team turns around and goes, that's anti-Semitic. Not that's inaccurate, not here's our counter evidence, just anti-Semitic. And that's not a hypothetical. That's exactly what happened to Mark Ruffalo earlier this week. Here's what actually went down. Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery are in the middle of a proposed $110 billion merger. The man at the center of it is David Ellison, son of Oracle founder Larry Ellison. Now Mark, who has been publicly opposing this merger for months, along with some over 3,000 other Hollywood creatives, shared a video of Oracle executive Safra Katz describing what she herself called really profoundly scary technology made available to the Israeli military. Ruffalo's argument was simple. If this merger goes through, the company powering one of the world's largest media conglomerates has direct ties to military infrastructure being used in Gaza. That's a corporate accountability argument. What was Paramount's response? They released a statement saying his use of words like genocide and apartheid was a bridge too far and invoked anti-Semitic tropes. Ruffalo clapped back immediately. He called the accusation appalling and fundamentally dishonest and said, and I'm quoting him directly here, criticism of the Israeli Prime Minister, a military technology contract, or the executives who supply it is not criticism of Jewish people. Write that down because that sentence is important. Now I want you to stay with me here because when Paramount called his post anti-Semitic, they were hoping you wouldn't go back and look at the actual video he had shared earlier. So let's look at this. This is Safra Katz. She was the CEO of Oracle for over a decade. And in this video, here is what she says in her own words.
There's a few things that we did that I really can't talk about to advance the agenda for the Israeli military. But we have some really profoundly scary technology at Oracle, and we wanted to make sure that it was available for the effort. Let's just say that. Okay? There's a few.
And then she also said seeing Oracle employees in military uniform at Israel's military headquarters in Tel Aviv was her proudest moment. The CEO of one of the world's most powerful technology companies said her proudest professional moment was her employees in military uniform at a war headquarters. And it's not just the CEO. Here is Larry Ellison himself, the executive chair and CTO of Oracle, the man whose son is buying Paramount, speaking at the Friends of the IDF Gala.
Well, the renewal of the Jewish state is something that I think touches all of us. For 2,000 years, we were a stateless people. And now we have a country of our own, defended by all the brave men and women of the IDF. So anything we can do to support them who devote their lives for preserving the state of Israel, keeping the people safe, and allowing our state to continue in sometimes in very, very difficult situations. I have been to Israel. I've been to the border. I have spent time with the people who govern the state of Israel, and I feel a deep emotional connection to the state of Israel and the Israeli people.
You are an high-tech person. What do you think about Israeli startups and high-tech phenomena?
Oh, well, after Silicon Valley, there's an area in Herzliya is probably got more startups than any other place other than Silicon Valley in Northern California. So we've actually acquired a number of Israeli companies. We have two CEOs at Oracle. One's name is Safra Katz, and she was born in Israel. So again, we love the country of Israel, and we'll do everything we can to support the country of Israel.
I recently hear that many people criticizing Israel, especially after the Gaza operation. How do you feel as someone just saying we love Israel so much?
Well, again, it's a difficult situation, isn't it? To conduct military operations around civilians is very difficult. And of course, there were tragedies, and the civilians were hurt. That's a terrible thing. But one thing we know for certain, that the Israeli army did everything they could to minimize civilian casualties. In that regard, they've done a much better job than a lot of other armies all over the world throughout history.
Thank you very much.
So just be clear about what we're looking at. This is the founder of a company that is financing the acquisition of one of the world's largest media empires, standing at a fundraiser for a military that is currently the subject of an active International Court of Justice genocide case. That's not guilty by association. That's a documented relationship stated publicly at a formal event. So now we have at least 2 Oracle executives in their own voices, in their own words, confirming that this company is not a passive bystander. They are an active, proud, self-described participant in what is happening in Gaza. And Mark Ruffalo shared a video pointing to exactly this and got called anti-Semitic for it. So when Mark said the Ellisons are powering some of the most destructive and inhuman forces in the world, he wasn't speculating. He was reading the company's own track record back to them. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Ruffalo's argument was that David Ellison's acquisition of Paramount is being financed through the Ellison family's wealth built on Oracle's infrastructure. So if this merger completes, the company supplying profoundly scary technology to a military operation in Gaza has a financial thread running directly into one of the largest media conglomerates on the planet. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a documented ownership change. And Paramount's response to that chain was anti-Semitism. Look at some of these conversations that are happening online, on Reddit and elsewhere. Look at this. Everyone is against this genocide. People are standing by the Hulk. Now, let's be precise. Anti-Semitism is real. It's a centuries-old documented system of hatred that has caused catastrophic suffering. Nobody in a serious conversation is disputing that. But here is what happened in this specific moment. A corporation facing a $110 billion merger under intense public scrutiny weaponized the word anti-Semitic to shut down an actor who had just connected publicly available dots about their financiers' military contracts. That is not fighting hate. That is reputation management dressed as moral outrage. The words genocide and apartheid are not slurs. They are legal and scholarly categories. They have been applied to this situation by the UN, by the Amnesty International, by Human Rights Watch, by International Court of Justice, and by Israeli historians themselves. When a media company tells you that using these legal categories in a corporate accountability argument is anti-Semitic, they are not protecting Jewish people. They are protecting a brand. And more dangerously, they are training you to flinch, to self-censor, to pause before you speak about Palestinian lives, because you've watched what happens to people who don't. That is how free speech dies, not with a ban, not with a law, but with a chilling effect, one accusation at a time. Here's what I want you to notice about Ruffalo's arc. Back in 2021, he apologized. He posted about Gaza and faced the same label. He pulled back, said he was wrong. He bent the knee, and it didn't protect him. 5 years later, same topic, same accusations, same playbook, which tells you something important. The goal was never accuracy. The goal was compliance. And this time he didn't comply. He called the accusation appalling and fundamentally dishonest. He said, and I'll quote him one more time because it deserves to be repeated, criticism of the Israeli Prime Minister, a military technology contract, or the executives who supply it is not criticism of Jewish people. That's not radicalism. That's just logic. And the fact that stating that logic out loud still gets you labeled in 2026 tells you everything about what this accusation is actually being used to protect. Here's the question I want you to sit with. If criticizing a corporation's military tech contract is anti-Semitic, then what language is left for Palestinians to be seen as humans? Because if every word that describes their reality is defined as a form of hate, the system isn't protecting people from bigotry. The system is protecting a war from accountability. Let me know what you think. Do you really think there's a real difference between anti-Semitism and criticism of Israeli policy? Or do you think the line genuinely gets blurry? I want you in that comment section. I want you to know that I want to hear from you. And if you think this story deserved more coverage than it got, share it, because the algorithm isn't going to do us any favor on this one.